Hi everyone. Uh, Sanchez here from Polkadot Africa. I'm the content person and community manager from Polkadot Africa. We have Bill today. Our session is going to be going to be led by the lead driver for Polkadot Africa, uh, Becca. So just to give you a quick breakdown, Bill Laboon is the vice president of ecosystem at Web2 Foundation. Like I was telling him just before we got started, I am a long-term, like a very big fan. Been following all of the stuff like Daily Digest, the Polkadot Daily Digest for a very long time. And so let me not keep them waiting like so long.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Nice. So Bill, it is awesome to have you with us. It's really, really awesome to have you with us. Uh, nice. And so I feel like the Polkadot Hub it's an upgrade that has been coming for a very long time. It's something that everyone has been looking forward to because of how much it sort of elevates like the functionalities and all of the stuff we have on Polkadot. So I think at this point I'm going to just drop off and let Becca lead the conversations uh, onwards. So Becca, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Sanchez. Yeah. So for everyone who is still joining or trying to join the stream, you are welcome to our most anticipated stream. And this time is about the Polkadot Hub. Everyone has been anticipating, like Sanchez already said. And this time we are looking at how developers, how users, how contributors, how they would be able to coordinate using Polkadot Hub. We have Bill Laboon. He is the vice president of the ecosystem and also Polkadot, and of course, we're Web3 Foundation. So, my first question for you, Bill, is you wrote a book, right? And for those of us who are still new here, I want you to go check out Bill's book. He wrote a book on about crypto, and just it was a fictional story about a woman and how she was navigating through different parts of life using crypto, and how she also got some paths. So your book tells a fictional story about crypto coordination and power. Today, does Polkadot Hub feel like a real world version of the idea? Do you see any parallels?
Yeah.
Bill?
Thanks, Becca. So for those who aren't familiar, this book is Strength in Numbers, which I started writing in end of 2016, early 2017. So right now, reading through it again or looking through, I'm sure there are a lot of ideas and things have gone in different directions than I expected. However, this idea of coordination, like universal coordination through blockchains, is still there. It's something that is what got me involved in this space in the first place, and especially working on Polkadot. So again, I hope you don't mind if I do a little bit of a detour here.
Or
But when when I first discovered Bitcoin,
yeah.
and especially once I discovered Ethereum in the early days, uh, I saw such room for experimentation, so many things to try out. But I also saw it was very obvious, especially in Bitcoin, but also with Ethereum, how limiting it was. So a lot of what I discuss in the book, one of the main characters, the professor, the ex-professor in the book, we talk about his a book, theory of cross-chain interaction. right? Like I saw a cross chain, having Bitcoin interact with Ethereum and interact with Litecoin and Monero and a lot of these chains as extremely important. And so this is what got me interested in Polkadot in the first place, is this idea that we can have lots of different chains, lots of different applications interacting with each other, and that is really where the power lies. So I left academia. I was a professor myself at the University of Pittsburgh. I left to join Web3 Foundation in 2019 because I saw that like Polkadot was actually able to solve a lot of these problems, right? That we saw, that I was thinking about and writing about in 2016, 2017. And I see right now that we really have done that. We can see that the Polkadot DAO, right? The open Gov is just an absolutely like massive concept of coordination. We see lots of chains interacting with each other. We can see messages being sent from one chain to another. We see a lot of activity and a lot of things that I wanted to see. What is that? Almost 10 years ago now, right? 10 years ago. So I'm really happy to now see Hub coming onto the picture, because while there is a lot of power in Polkadot, I think there has also been a lot of difficulties in developing for it, and Hub is solving a lot of those problems.
Awesome. I like the fact that you actually mentioned, the cross-chain powers that Polkadot has that not many chains also offer, and this is also something that the Bitwise index also really touched upon, which is the fact that Polkadot actually drives the cross-chain interoperability across different blockchains in the Web3 space, which is most times this is the biggest and one of the hardest because many chains are siloed currently. But yeah. Thank you for that question with the first question, the answer rather for the first question. So I'm just going to touch one more question on your novel. And I want to just ask, and I think you've already, kind of answered it already. You mentioned that, how coordination is very important, even in Polkadot, and how we are doing this and how we are pushing through it. Do you think Polkadot Hub changes how devs coordinate on chain?
So, I mean, it hasn't launched yet, so not quite yet, but I do think it will. It's always hard to predict the future and exactly how things will work. But so just if you don't mind, maybe I can give a little description of Hub and what exactly it's bringing.
Yes.
And then I'll explain like how it can be useful. So the idea of Polkadot has always been that you can create your own chain and have all of these chains interact with each other, right? So you have a lot more power, a lot more scalability, etc. However, developing a chain is actually a much more difficult process than just developing a smart contract or program. So the idea of Hub was to sort of give a step, right? If we can, I like to think of Hub as one step between just using the software and developing your own chain. There should also be an intermediate step there of developing a smart contract. You may not need your own chain. You may want to start here and move up, just like on a step. So with Hub, this is what we're doing. We have a system chain that is part of the Polkadot ecosystem that is already contains a lot of functionality that used to be on this coordinating chain, the relay chain as we call it. So staking, governance, treasury, all of these things are now on this Hub chain. And the ability to program on this Hub chain is coming very soon, in the next month or so. And how is this going to help people coordinate? Well, right now, interacting from chain A to chain B, if you're doing anything more complicated than just sending an asset. So if I have a token A on parachain A and I want to send it to parachain B, that's pretty straightforward. But doing more complicated things, like I want to call a smart contract on this other chain, and if it does something, then send some assets here and some assets there and some assets there, it gets more complicated. It is easier to do everything on the same chain. So the idea is with Hub is sort of twofold. That will allow you to have all of your different, lots of different smart contracts, sort of phase one that can interact with each other, so they don't have to go across chains, unless that's
Yes.
necessary. It makes things easier. But also providing something called facade, which will sort of hide a lot of the details here. So you can act almost like you're on a single chain. So you get all the ease of programming that while still interacting with other aspects of the system. And so this is something we want to bring the power of Polkadot, this idea that you can have lots of chains operating in parallel, but make it just as easy to program as on Ethereum or any EVM L2 or Solana or whatever, right? So you get like the all the benefits and none of the drawbacks.
Nice. Do you think I have one question on talking about other chains.
Mhm.
So currently we have EVM. EVM would be it's currently on Kusama, right? And I am also looking at just a sneak peek, right? Some alpha. Do you think Solana can also be run, on Polkadot?
So I mean, this is a pretty deep technical question, right? On how exactly Solana works. But generally, like being able to put the Solana VM on
Mm.
as a parachain, as a rollup on Polkadot, is straightforward. I'm not saying easy, right? Any engineering job is always it's always more difficult than you think, but it certainly is possible. Anything you can do on some other chain, theoretically, you could run as a parachain, a rollup on Polkadot. So we have actually had some grants for different machines, like especially Move, to run. I don't think there are any active parachains that are using it, but there's definitely been some. I mean, there's definitely been A Star, for instance, allows you to run ink-based smart contracts, straight up Rust
Yeah.
uh, on their chain, as well as EVM compatible items. So like having Solana programs run on Polkadot, again, I don't want to say, oh, that's trivial, that's something anyone can do, but it is possible. You could implement the Solana VM and just have it run as a roll up on Polkadot.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So my next question for you is why now for Polkadot Hub, and what gap does it solve right now? Because we've been doing interoperability. I mean, we've been doing it for years. With XCM. How does Polkadot Hub? How does it take it to a new level?
So I think I covered a little bit of this earlier, like that it is this step, right? It is this intermediate phase. It makes it a lot more. It makes it a lot easier for developers to target the level that they're working with. So like I like to think of it as let's say you have a very small business. You just sell fruit or something, right? That's very straightforward. You buy some fruit at the beginning of the day, and you sell so much, and you have so much left over. You can use a calculator and a piece of paper for that. And now let's say you go and you have like a store, right, where you have multiple things. It's not just fruit, but it's also whatever, bread and cereal and milk and all this stuff. Well, maybe now you need a cash register. All right, so now you have a whole series of these stores. You have a whole chain. Well, now you might need spreadsheets and computers and an accounting department, et cetera. And programs are similar, right? I often write just myself, not as much as I'd like. I'm more of a manager now, sadly. But I write a small program by myself in Python. That just does something. Does a script, some minor thing. But people writing the core software for this, they are going to want to use Rust or C, right? They're going to use they're going to use GitHub. They're going to use lots of different tools and testing tools to ensure that it's correct. It's a different level because they're trying to do something different.
Yeah.
And it's similar with Hub, right? We're providing now this stepping stone where I don't need, if I'm a developer and I want to do something quickly, I don't want to spend 6 months developing my own chain and figuring out all the details and who's going to run the collators and what's going to be my tokenomics. I just want to write a little program. Well, now I can use Hub for that. And maybe this expands, just like the person who was just selling fruit, then they go and they open a store and they sell more things, and then they have a whole chain of stores. Similarly, you can very easily then take this code that you put on Hub, make it part of a chain, right, and easily expand. So what we're doing, I think, is making it a lot easier for people to experiment, and I think that's incredibly important if you're developing, right? You want people to try things, figure out what works, and have them be able to do it easily, as opposed to like be agile. And I think this is what Hub allows us to do. It allows us to use this power of Polkadot, but try different things out and do it, iterate quickly. This is right what everyone says when you're trying to start a tech business. You have to iterate. You have to put out an MVP, figure out if it works, and then, if necessary, scale from that point. But first, figure out what works. And this is what we want to do. We want more people to try to figure out what works for them in the Web3 world.
Okay, thank you for that. On that note, figuring out, bringing more people to try different things and what works. What changes for contributors? Does the hub introduce, clearer ownership? Does it introduce more contributor pathways? What does it do?
Yeah, so I think, yes, if you're looking to contribute to Polkadot, this is a much easier way than starting a parachain, ensuring you have core time, etc. If you were looking to build on Polkadot, it is much easier, much faster to get something to market than it was using the traditional paradigm. And I also think this will get more people interested in Polkadot, because while it's just as easy as developing on Ethereum or any EVM based
Yeah.
system, you also get the benefits of Polkadot. You can interact with its staking system. You can interact with its governance system. You can interact with its identity system. Like, you get a lot of extra things for free that you don't get by deploying on Ethereum. It's just as easy. If you want to make a copy of what's on Ethereum, okay, make a copy. It's super easy. But then if you want to take advantage of a lot of these other capabilities that Polkadot has, using the same software, same programming language, you get this for free, or essentially for free, right? You can access it and use it. So I do think that this is going to get more people inspired. It's going to more people that come to Polkadot just to try it out, because why not try it out? It's very easy. If you're used to Ethereum, which most people know Solidity,
Yes.
you're developing in the Web3 ecosystem. So from there, we see that as a funnel, a pipeline into deeper work with Polkadot. Maybe building parachains, helping with the Polkadot SDK. This is all open source. People can start looking at the code, see what they would like to change, issue a PR. We've seen many people do this. Actually, I can tell you, I started working at Web3 Foundation in 2019, but my first accepted pull request was in 2018. My first PR was something simple. I said, hey, you mentioned this, but there's no link to it. So I just did a quick PR to include a link. It was accepted. And then things continued from there. So I think getting people interested, having them try things out, is the first way. It's the first and easiest way to then get them deeper and start contributing to the ecosystem in more substantial ways.
Yeah. Basically, just to reiterate just a bit, just to touch on that, devs should always learn to contribute to open source. That's the first step. First step, check out what you can try out, and then build on from there.
Can I just say one thing on that note? So again, I was a former professor, computer science at the University of Pittsburgh, and I was also an advisor for students. And that was my number one piece of advice always, is have an active GitHub account, contribute to major projects, and that gives you something amazing to talk about on interviews. It's it's proof, publicly available proof that if you're doing this in open source where everyone can see it, people can look at your code, and it gives you something to talk about on interviews. So if anyone is looking, for some career advice, That's some free career advice that university students were paying money for that I'm giving out now.
Yeah, even me, like it's a thing now. Like if you have followers on GitHub, it means you're like some crazy or some big open source developer, because having followers on GitHub is also one is very hard. It means you are a dev that actually knows what you're doing, and you are contributing to the ecosystem. So my next question for you now is now in this still on the path on contribution, which we now want to see how users are now I mean, devs are building products, what kind of products we want, and what kind of, how we want users to use the next era of products that these devs would build, which now brings me to the question about proof of personhood,
Mhm.
right? I did some reading about proof of personhood, and I saw that currently there are two kinds of mechanics on how to prove a person. That's one. My favorite is two, which is the first one I like really much is the game, and then the second one, which is the tattoo, right? So I want to ask, because I also did some other digging into it, and how it actually makes it makes sure that you only just have a proof of the fact that it's one identity, and
Mhm.
then it doesn't care about how you interact with like other different rooms. Probably if you have a wallet, you just have a temporal wallet address for one transaction, so it doesn't care about all those how you are moving in Web3. It doesn't really try to um how do I explain it now? It doesn't try to track, and invade your privacy,
Yeah,
basically.
I mean,
So
one
I
way.
want to,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yes, I want to ask, how does yeah, how does proof of personhood impact, the next era of users in Web3?
Yeah, so I think it's very useful. I like to think of it, and this is not 100% technically accurate, but I think it's a good analogy. It's like identity light, right? It is
Mm,
not it's not, hey, I pull out my passport and I say, okay, my name is Bill Laboon and I live in this location. It's just to prove that you are a unique person, right? That
mm,
it is mathematically very difficult, hopefully impossible, to create more than one
mm,
of these identities, right? You will be a single identity, and we see so many use cases for this, right? On Twitter, spam prevention. Right now it is incredibly easy to make 5,000 fake accounts, right, and say that, all right, whatever, and spam people. It's really difficult. Excuse me, it's really easy to make lots of Bill Laboon accounts. Actually, if you look on Twitter, there's a lot of fake Bill Laboon accounts, which is
yeah.
always, that's how I knew I made it in this world, like when people are pretending to be me. Uh, with proof of personhood, it's really simple to eliminate this because, okay, like maybe you could find more people to do this, but it's expensive to find these people. And the only reason spam works is because it's so cheap to
Mm,
make a million fake accounts, right? And so if we can do this without invading your privacy, without this WorldCoin mechanism of scanning your eyes,
mm,
without like having to do KYC, without having it's a relatively lightweight process that gives a lot of benefits, right? And it's privacy preserving. So the first example is things like just spam prevention, but you can also think of like your airdrops, right? This is a common problem of airdrop farming, where you have these people that pretend to be lots and lots of other people. uh, you have you have like like even things like voting, like governance,
mhm,
where we want to get a poll of people, and we don't want to know who they are. We just want to get a poll, and we want to make sure that one person isn't voting 1,000 times for something. Like, this also is something useful for proof of personhood. So I think a lot of times when people say like you need an identity, for something, you don't really need an identity. Someone doesn't need to know if I'm participating in this poll,
Hmm.
or if I'm getting an airdrop. They don't need to know I'm Bill Laboon. What they need to know is I'm not Becca. I am not Sanchez. I am not anyone else, right? But rather, I am an individual person. And there's,
Hmm.
again, lots of use cases, and I'm sure that there are a lot of use cases that I haven't thought about yet, and we haven't thought
Hmm.
about. But once people have this capability, and especially when we have a lot of people using it, and we have a lot of these identities out there, then we'll see even more.
Hmm. You mentioned that proof of personhood is like an identity light. And so my question now is, because you mentioned you also compared it to WorldCoin, which they scan the eyes. And for what else do you think we can add? Do you think we can do fingerprints instead of you know?
So there's some research being done on other mechanisms for proof of personhood. So you
Hmm.
mentioned two, DIM1 and DIM2. So DIM1 is a tattoo that is
Yeah.
associated with your address that you then have to prove.
Hmm.
Anyone that's a member of Kappa Sigma Mu on Kusama is probably familiar with this basic idea. The second is a game where at the same time one person, it's all on a big video call, and one person is chosen as a leader. They do something and imitate. Everyone votes on if everyone else imitates, and then you vote on if they've done it or if they look like they're AI. Uh, you know, we've calculated that, again, like doing this in real time would be incredibly expensive, if not impossible. And doing
Hmm.
and so it's again, I mean, it's always going to be a race, right? To figure out, like, there's going to be scammers trying to game the system, and we'll be trying to come up with new ways. So there is already research on these DIMs, these mechanisms for proving individuality. I can't really go into them right now, but I can tell you that they are actively being researched, and that we're going to continue to work on them and refine them going forward. Like, we don't see this as, all right, this is the final version and we'll never have a better way of doing it, but rather we see this as an ongoing process, right? A cat and mouse game, we say, right? The mouse, the scammers, is always going to run, and us, the cat, we're always going to be chasing it. It is an ongoing process, and we're prepared for that already.
Awesome, awesome. So proof of personhood can have version one, version two, version three, you know, as much version as it needs to improve it. So my next question for you is, now with we have currently right now what we have is we have bridges, Snow Bridge, Hyper Bridge. We have Asset Hub, which is also used for native assets, which is also part of Polkadot Hub. We now have REVM, and Polkadot Hub now, right?
Mhm.
So, the question now for Solidity devs, how we, ensure that all these functionalities are on Asset Hub, you know, um, the teams that are working behind this, do we, is it the parity team, or is it an external team that will be, working all these functionalities for Asset Hub, which will now be available to people who are building using Solidity?
So this is a Parity team. The System Smart Contracts team at Parity has been working on this for quite a while, and excuse me. Yes, they will continue to be working on this. So REVM is a a Rust-based
Okay.
EVM implementation, which is open source, and it has been modified to work with Polkadot SDK and Substrate. And we're going to continue to refine that as time goes forward. There's been some really, really extensive testing. I can tell you there have been a lot of testers to make sure that it is 100% EVM compatible. That we're bringing software. If you run something on Ethereum, you can just take that same code and boom, it'll run on our EVM. There's also,
Boom. Wait, literally just like that.
I'm sorry.
Like, do you mean this literally? So you just take the same code and then you just deploy it
Yes.
literally on the same network, and it's
Yeah.
just
Boom. like that.
Awesome.
Right. So it's been again a lot of work to do this to make sure that it is is 100% compatible. There's been a lot of testing on it, and I don't think you mentioned Polka VM also. So
Yes.
Polka VM also is uh, EVM like, right? That you can run Solidity on it, but it has a lot of performance advantages. So REVM, it will start with REVM on Asset Hub, and then Polka VM will come. Polka VM is not 100% EVM compatible. It is very similar, but generally you should be able to run Solidity on it and then get much faster, much higher performance from it. Much less gas fees, etc. So it's sort of a reimagining of Solidity.
Mhm.
Running Solidity, but not on EVM. Because of that, because there are some slight differences, you won't have this ability to just copy and paste and boom, it works. But there's always this possibility to just continue to use REVM, right? To just use this, and then if you just want to use the same code, and a lot of teams do. A lot of teams, they have the code here that's been audited, it's been verified, it's been battle tested. They don't want to change their code at all. So we say, okay, you can just move it over and run. But for those people that want to either experiment, right, and try something new, or that need this much more efficient version, then they can use Polka VM. And Polka
Yeah.
VM is the version that's actually deployed on Kusama Asset Hub right now. So if you're interested in trying Polka VM out, you already can do that on Kusama. That was launched 5 months ago or so.
Hmm. And Poker VM is more efficiently, so it runs more efficiently rather. So that means devs who are looking at voluminous transactions and they want as cheap gas as possible, they should actually try out building on Poker VM instead. That way they ensure that the gases is not going to be as high as Ethereum gases, which can also fluctuate with slippage. But Poker VM, it's much more efficient, much more stable,
Right, but at the cost of it
right?
not being one, yeah, right. But the cost, of course, because all software engineering is trade-offs. There's always a cost. The cost is this is not 100% compatible with EVM.
Yeah.
It's 99%. I mean, I don't know an exact number. It's not perfect. There could be some edge cases where it doesn't operate exactly the same. However, again, there's always this option of using REVM where it is
The same, like, yeah, almost the same.
yeah, where it is where it is as much as we can make it, and as far as we know, it is 100% compatible.
Great. So this means that we have a simple onboarding. My next question is: would there be tooling that will be, standardized like the way we have MetaMask wallets? So would we have like a revamp of Polkadot.js into something like MetaMask or something?
So yes and no, right? So in terms of, because this is an EVM, entirely EVM compatible, you can always use MetaMask or Rabi or any of these other EVM wallets. You can also use them, right? So in that sense, it won't be standardized because you know you'll be able to use whatever tooling you want. However, we are working on having like a standard dev toolkit, your hard hat and all of this stuff. All right, here's exactly what you need to do, and here's what we recommend. So there will be a standard, but there will always be the option. If you're interested in using other EVM tooling, then you could use it. It might require some some tweaks or some parameter modifications, but because
Mm.
it is EVM based, you always maintain that option. But yes, again, the goal here is to make things easy for developers, and so we are planning on providing a very standardized development stack for
Mm.
building on Hub.
Awesome, awesome, great. Which now brings me to my next question: would there be like a new category of applications? Like we have cross-chain intents on Hyperbridge. So would there be other types of unified uh, applications coming from Polkadot, that would now be able to abstract, XCM, making it more easier for devs?
Yes. So I think I've mentioned a few times about our product-based roadmap.
Yes.
That we've been working on developing products that people can use that hide a lot of the complexity of interacting with the chain. So I'll, I can't really say too much about this right now.
Okay. Okay.
So I
Okay.
hope you understand. However, this is like actively, all of these applications
Yes.
are actively under development, and you should be hearing much more from us in the very near future. But one of the things, both for developers and users, one of our goals is to make things simple. So I think I mentioned earlier, like early Polkadot, I would say uh, our DNA, our instincts, our early evolution was very much based on having software that was very powerful, but often very complex or hard to understand. So if you've ever used Polkadot JS app, Becca,
Mm,
I'm sure you have, then you can see that it is not something that's straightforward. It's not meant for end users. Everything is possible, but it's not always easy. It reminds me of going to the Linux command line. So
yeah.
one of the changes that we're making in our direction is making it easier again for both developers and users. So they always have the capability to go back to that command line if they want to and do something complicated, but to make it easy to make an XCM call for across chains, to make it easy to deploy things, to have better user interfaces. Again, both for users and developers. So over the last year, maybe year and a half, this has actually been a major push for us. So some of the things that we've done with Polkadot SDK, including having long-term supported releases to make life easier for developers, not so many changes. Um, we've done in the past and we're going to continue to go in the future. Like this is a key priority for us, right? So this is, if you think about it, this is also Hub is part of this, where if you want to build on Polkadot,
Hmm.
or okay, I have to get Polkadot SDK, I have to learn Rust, I have to figure out how to deploy this, I have to figure out how to buy core time. And now it's, hey, if I've already done something in Solidity on some other chain, I copy and paste and boom, right? I have it. And the idea here is like, that's one aspect of making it easy for developers. But with this product-based roadmap, this end user and end developer facing roadmap, we want to make all of these things that in the past were complicated much easier. So again, you get the benefits of Polkadot, but you don't have to worry about all the complexities of Polkadot.
Hmm. Awesome. Great, 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 great. I have one more question on cross chain, which is, how so we right now we have the feature of moving code and just and deploying it on on EVM, and it runs just like the way it runs on other chains.
Mhm.
How about having this Solidity smart contract now interacting with outside chains out of Polkadot, like Base, Arbitrum, all that?
Yeah, so that is something that's technically possible. We actually do it in a very decentralized way with Snowbridge. Right, Snowbridge is interacting with its contracts on Ethereum, and for moving assets across. With XCM, you actually can call a smart contract on chain A, on chain B, or on an external chain, as long as that external chain can support those capabilities, right? So this is something that could be developed as a smart contract on some other chain. Any smart contract capable chain can handle XCM messages, which means that they can have a smart contract somewhere on Polkadot, call a smart contract somewhere else. This doesn't work on all chains, like Bitcoin or Litecoin. They have these non-Turing complete scripts. These UTXO-based systems are a little more difficult, but theoretically possible if that chain can handle the smart contract. That we can reasonably implement the other side of that bridge, then yes, a smart contract internal to Polkadot can call a smart contract somewhere else, and vice versa, and do it in a trustless way, which I think is that's the cool part. You know,
Yeah.
doing it in a trusted way where it's like, all right, Becca chain wants to call into Polkadot, and you just send a message to Bill, and I say, okay, yeah, looks good, and I do it. Okay, that you're trusting me. Doing it in a totally trustless way, That's the challenge, but it's something that again we've developed the theoretical and like the framework for it, and it's been implemented in a few cases, like with Snowbridge. But we definitely would like to see more of that going forward.
Okay, great. Great, great, great. Then my next question. Okay, so currently we actually have some questions in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, would you like to go into that, or you would want me to, finish this? Let me.
You tell me. I'm here to answer your questions.
Great, great. Let me just, take one question from the chat, and it says, uh, I presume it has to do with this. I think we've already answered this question, which is, could you talk about the team working on ensuring that functionalities of Asset Hub are always available to the Solidity smart contracts developed on Hub?
Yeah. So this is the system smart contracts team. This is part of their mandate, right? Is not just to implement the EVM. Like that's actually relatively simple. Again, I shouldn't say simple, straightforward. It's the software engineering is never simple. There's always things to worry about. But this team also is in charge of ensuring, right, and they work at parity, so they're working closely with these other teams, that these interfaces, these APIs, can be accessible from the Solidity smart contract. So as that code changes, then the precompiles will change, and how they interact.
Mm,
But we do have a team that is their focus, right? So that's
mm,
part of the SSC team over at Parity. So you're right, someone has to do it. It's not magic, but we do have a team at Parity working on it.
mm. And also, would it be able to also support like experimental features? Right now we have some new features around payments using X402, all this kind of things.
Theoretically, yes. I don't think things like X402 are, in phase one, like when this is first launched, like it's not going to be a key priority. I think staking and governance are the two big
Okay.
ones.
Mhm.
Please don't quote me on that. I'm not. There may be a third one. Identity, I know, is coming soon,
Yes.
but I don't think it at launch. But these things are sort of like the key priorities. As you mentioned, as Jamal Jones Jr. Has mentioned, rather, someone has to work on these, right? We had to prioritize. Okay, who's going to make sure this works and this works and this works in addition. And some of these were more important, and so we're releasing them earlier. But that further phases, we will have more of these capabilities baked in that you can immediately call
Mhm.
from your Solidity contract.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You have to, take care of all the features that you have, converted them into uh, the pre-compiles for, Solidity smart contracts for them to be able to connect with either, our key feature, which is staking, governance, all these features. These are our core features we need to, prioritize first. And then, of course, once the team is done, they will be able to, take in all the, or at least the most asked features that developers would need in Web3.
Mm.
So I want to ask again my next question, which is let me just check in. Yeah, my next question is, if you were a new team deciding whether to build a parachain or a smart contract, or just which one would you choose? Parachain or smart contract, or just build something directly on Hub using maybe the library, just using the front end library to just build something that would interact with staking or governance or identity or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, this really depends on what you're building, right? It's just like
Mhm.
if you ask me what sort of car should I get, it's like, well, if I'm only staying in the city here, maybe I would just get a motorcycle or a trotti. I don't know what the scooter, I guess, right? Like something, like something small. But if I'm going out into the countryside a lot, maybe I want to get a truck or a big car or something. So I think it's similar, right? If I wanted, and that's what I think is great about Polkadot, right? Is that it gives you the chance to have a motorcycle or a scooter or a truck or a car.
Yes.
So if I wanted to build something um, honestly, like as an individual developer, as someone just starting out that has an idea, I probably would just build on Hub.
Mm,
I can use Solidity. I can it's still Turing complete. I can write any sort of software I want. Maybe it'll be more expensive to do that. Maybe it'll be very difficult if lots of people are using the application. But that's a good problem to have, right? Then I could take that code. I could then make my own chain from it. So I would say generally, if you're a small team, if you're the type of person who's asking this question of which should I use, then generally that's going to be developing directly on Hub. But if I have an idea for something that I immediately think we're going to need, thousands of transactions per second, even at the beginning,
mm,
then I would focus on building a parachain first. Or if I have some like really out there idea. So I know there's Solana VM, there's Move VM, there's EVM, there's Polka VM. But if I want to make Bill VM, this doesn't make any, my own virtual machine that you can run, Bill I don't know, some programming, other programming language, Bill plus plus. I'm going to need to work on a parachain. So
yeah.
again, that's what I really think is great about Polkadot is there's this idea if I want to start very small, I can. If I want to move up, I can still do it on Polkadot. It's like a motorcycle that transforms into a car if necessary later.
Mm, Transformers.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So someone asked the question. I'm just going to take one question.
Mhm.
We actually getting to the end of the call already, the stream. It's been an engaging one. So one asked the question, what opportunities would be available to non-technicals, and how can creators collaborate with teams, building on the hub to produce educational content that would drive awareness, adoption, all that stuff.
So there's lots of different mechanisms, right? For interacting. As a creative person, if you're looking to explain Polkadot, there's lots of possibilities to explain different things. There are there's this chaotic marketplace for NFTs for artists for traditional visual artists to interact. We have OpenGov, so if you're
Mm.
interested in governance and discussing governance, there's lots of discussion on that, often very heated discussion. But if you enjoy politics, then that's something else you can look into. Um, there's a lot of space also, I think, to be written about what's possible with Polkadot. So I think something. So just like I wrote my book, just sort of like thinking about what are the possibilities, based on what I saw happening in Ethereum in 2016. All right, where did I see the world going? And I actually think there's a lot of room now. We've had a lot of experimentation. We've seen a lot, and not just on Polkadot. I mean, Polkadot, obviously I'm speaking about Polkadot, but on lots of different networks, we've seen a lot of experimentation in the Web3 world. So I think, writing, it doesn't have to be a book, but articles, blog posts, or even on Twitter, like, all right,
Mhm.
what could be possible? What could you do on Polkadot? Maybe give some ideas to the developers about, hey, what could you be doing? What's something neat that we would like to see on Polkadot that's possible to do there?
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. OpenGov is a very, very good one. And also putting yourself out there as a creator, you actually need to have your skills, in the real world, actually participate with real people and not just, yap. And so you actually have to contribute and to actually do things. And this is something that Polkadot Africa has, been trying to foster, where we actually, build and encourage people to build, right? Uh, and also we are funded by OpenGov. That is how we run our operations, and this is how we've been able to also meet people every day, in different parts of the ecosystem. We have Open Guild, which is also in charge of the APAC region. And so this is actually how we've been able to connect with other like-minded people who can now, come together to coordinate on chain. And and build.
Mhm.
Okay, my last question for you. This is my last question.
Mhm.
Sanchez, are you ready to come back? This is my last question. So my last question for you is the hub the final piece for Polkadot's developer adoption era?
No. So there is, I would say, Polkadot is always interested in getting more developers. And what the one thing that I like, I mean, I like many things about Polkadot, but one of the greatest things about Polkadot, I should say, is that it can evolve, right? As we figure out like what will make it easier for people to develop on Polkadot, as we figure out what do users want from Polkadot, as we figure out what products have product market fit, then we are going to add new features, right? So, Hub itself was in response to seeing like how difficult it was to develop a parachain. And we said, hey, all right, we need something additional here.
Mm,
OpenGov was a response to our first version of governance, the democracy palette, be not being as open, right? So this I would say is it was a big step forward, but I would never say that anything in Polkadot is the final version, right? One of the greatest things about it is its ability to evolve and the fact that it was
mm,
built from the beginning to evolve and easily upgrade, right? This is baked in the forkless upgrades to make
oh yeah.
if we look just at the relay chain, there's been I don't know exactly now 68 or 69 runtime upgrades. If you look at the entire ecosystem of Polkadot, there's been well over 1,000, probably closer to 2,000 at this point. Right. Whereas when you look at like Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's like okay, maybe once a year they can upgrade. If that, sometimes more, less often than that, every couple of years. So I think at the very beginning of Polkadot, Gavin Wood, when he was developing the basic plans, realized we don't have all the answers now. And so it was made to be very flexible going forward. And we're going to continue to be flexible. We're going to continue
Mm,
to make things easier for developers and users of Polkadot, until the whole world is using it. And even then, we'll continue improving it.
mm, that's good news. So something for devs. There would always be improvements on the developer experience. There would always be feedbacks loop. You can be a part of the feedback loop. You can join your region, if you have Polkadot APAC or Polkadot Africa or Polkadot India. You can be able to join this uh, uh, this community, just the ones closest to you, and be a part of the feedback loop because we Polkadot is always improving, always growing, and this way you can actually collect intelligence and also um, send it, and also like collect intelligence, work on its feedback loop, and find different product market fits uh, in the real world using this using the Polkadot dev tools. Okay, I'm going to just let Sanchez come in right now. Although we have some questions, but I will let Sanchez come in right now as we have already gotten to 15 minutes, which is this call was supposed to last for an hour, and we do not want to, probably just do like 1 hour 10 minutes, not to
Yeah.
spend too much time as
Yeah.
Bill has
Yeah. I have
other
another.
bigger fishes to fry.
Yeah, I have another meeting right after this, and so unfortunately, I can't go over time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think maybe I just have like because we have like a ton of questions, but I'll
Okay.
just quickly ask you. I think that's fine. So we have one from Twitter, and Web3 Hater is asking, what excites you the most about the direction Polkadot Hub is heading in 2026, and how do you think it will change the way we build Web3?
So, I mean, what I'm excited about is seeing the number of new people that we can get into Polkadot, and especially people that maybe thought they were not developers to start developing on it. And one of the things I've always thought was really impressive about Polkadot was this interaction, this cross-chain interaction. And as we make it easier for people to create small tools small programs, they interact with each other, and then you have something that's greater than the sum of its parts, right? If you have a program that's an oracle, right, that gives you data about the real world, and then you have like an insurance program. Well, now you can get data from this insurance program and interact with this oracle data. Then maybe you have a prediction market, right? And then that is able to interact and maybe hedge results from there. Then now you've got some more data that you can use. So maybe you have like some, right? Like what I'm very interested in seeing is maybe not any one particular program, but rather seeing how this, proliferation of programs can interact with each other and then make something that's even better than just any one individual program. I think it's, it's just like that old thing, like one stick is easy to snap and then lots of sticks, you can't snap it. I think it's similar with programs, right? It's Facebook was not very useful when it was just Mark Zuckerberg, but it became very useful when there's 2 billion people on it. There's lots of different interactions that can take place. And I think it's going to be very similar for that. So these network effects, I think Hub is really going to allow, and I'm really excited to see what those are.
Nice, 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 nice. So I think that clarifies that. So I just have like one question, and this is from Hope. So Hope is asking, this seems very in line with education and experiment. And I think over the years we've had a lot of that with Polkadot, right? A lot of education. We've had a lot of experiments. But then what about real world problem solving, right? And deployment to market for actual product users? What are these pathways?
So, and Hope, nice to see you. So you're right. A lot of what I've talked about here, because I've been focused. This is Polkadot Africa, and it's very developer focused. So I've talked a lot about education and experiments. I haven't talked much about the product-based roadmap here, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. There are a lot of products, right now, which I very briefly mentioned, that are also being developed by Parity, that are focused on real-world interaction, right? So proof of personhood and Web3 citizenship is just one of these examples. But Parity is a relatively large company. I don't know the exact numbers, but 150, 200 people, and it's a relatively small team working on this on system smart contracts. It's around 10 people as core developers and maybe another 10 as testers. Please don't quote me on these numbers. It's not exactly right. So like, Hub is one part. Like, so I was focused on Hub today, which really is, education, experiments, bringing programs in that have already been done, because it's EVM based. This is really not changing what's possible, right? It's still things written in Solidity. However, there is a lot of other action taking place, again, at Parity, that are in the main focus, right? More engineers are working on this product roadmap, on actually getting products that are going to be directly usable by non-developers, right? And that actually is the core of what we're doing. So Hub is an important part, and that's really what our focus was. Title I can see up here, Polkadot Hub. But this is one part, right, of what Parity is working on. And one thing, as Gav has come back, as really sort of drilled it into our heads, is that what we are developing for is for the billions of users the potential users out there. And so, like, yes, Hub, smart contract development, like, this is a very interesting for people that are looking to build, right, the developers. But this is one part of what we're doing, at Web3 Foundation and at Parity.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So I have to say thank you so much for coming, Bill. This was really, really, really enlightening. We had like 1 hour of like really, really good information, and just like education for the community. So thank you very much for this. And hopefully, if this is not much, we hope to maybe have you again sometime, when we actually have like all of this set on Polkadot Hub, when we have like more applications, we have people building like really, really fun products on Polkadot Hub. We hope to have like further conversations around this in time. So yeah, thank you very much for coming. It was awesome. It was awesome
Yeah.
having you.
Thank you. Really, it was my pleasure. Please, I'm happy to come back at any time.
Definitely.
All right
And
then.
definitely, I would send an email. Definitely.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you,
Nice.
everyone.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. This is a stream with Bill Laboon again. Just to reiterate, a first stream with Bill Laboon, and this is the beginning of Polkadot Hub. And stay tuned. We have more products lined up, 2026. So yeah, thank you.
Nice
thank
one.
you.
Have a good day, Bill.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Bye.